Well, hey there. If you've ever thought, why is this person so hard to coach? Today's episode is just for you. Most communication breakdowns on teams aren't about competence, they're about calibration. Today, we're diving into how to identify communication styles in the people you lead and how to coach each one without losing clarity, authority, or momentum. So, if you want stronger teams and fewer unnecessary tensions, don't skip this episode. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I would suggest go checking it out because you'll learn your communication style. Hi, I'm Julie, and welcome to Leadership Clearly podcast. I've been leading teams, building brands, and navigating complex leadership environments for over 20 years. And here's what I know to be true. Leadership gets heavy when clarity is missing. This podcast exists to help leaders slow down, think clearly, and lead well through real-world challenges. Each episode is designed to encourage you, challenge you, and remind you that strong leadership is built through consistency, courage, and care. If you're leading people and carrying responsibility, this podcast is for you. There's a difference between being in charge and being respected. The leaders people talk well about, not because they're flashy, but because they're steady, clear, and wise. Those are the leaders that are intentional about how they communicate. They study themselves. They study their people. If you want to be that kind of leader, the kind who builds strong teams and leaves lasting impact, the Clarity Code was built just for you. It's where we slow down, get honest about how you sound, how you lead, and how to align your communication with the impact you say you want to make. If you're ready for that level of growth, the Clarity Code is your next step. Information is found in the show notes. Well, hey, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Last week, we talked about you as a leader, what your communication style was, your tone, your default, your stress patterns. And if you did that work, you probably had at least one or two, okay, I hear you, Jules, that's me moments. So this week, we're flipping it because leadership isn't just self-awareness, it's people awareness. And here's the truth. Most communication breakdowns on teams aren't because someone is difficult, they're because someone is misunderstood. And leaders who can read the room, man, they scale stronger teams. So today, we're going to talk about how to identify communication styles in your employees and how you coach each one of them effectively. Not manage them, coach them, because there's a difference. Now, if you don't have employees, but you lead a team, the same equivalency, okay? So don't freak out if you hear me say how to coach your employees a lot. I'm actually talking as general broad terms. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. First and foremost, stop expecting everyone to sound like you. This is a trap. Once you understand your style, you subconsciously expect everyone else to communicate the same way. Guys, it's okay. It's just the way we're built. But this is where we get to do that rewiring of our brain. If you're a direct person, you expect brevity. If you're relational, you expect warmth. If you're analytical, you expect detail. And if you're steady, you expect calm. And when someone doesn't match your style, you tend to label it. They're too sensitive. They're scattered. They overthink. They're really intense. Or my favorite, and I know this from firsthand experience, my friends, they need to be just more like me and think like me and talk like me. Guys, that is not leadership. That is preference. Proverbs 18:13 says, to answer before listening, that is a folly and a shame. If we don't take the time to understand how someone processes and communicates, we will mislabel them. And mislabeling, that creates mistrust. Let's talk about how to identify communication styles on your team. You don't need a formal test. Just observe them. Watch how your employees or the people you lead give updates, how they handle tension, how they ask questions, how they respond to feedback, how they behave under stress. Because patterns, they reveal wiring. So let's break it down a little bit, okay? Let's talk about coaching the director on your team. You are going to know them quickly. They are concise, they want autonomy, they get frustrated with inefficiency, they probably finish your sentences. And if you micromanage them, they are totally going to mentally check out. So here is how to coach them. Be direct. Do not over explain. Give them ownership. Challenge them with measurable goals. Instead of saying, let's just do our best here, give this a try. Say, what does excellent look like in this project to you? They respect strength, but here's the key. Direct communicators often need help with emotional intelligence, and it's not because they don't care. It's because they move fast. Coach them to have slower moving feet. Ask one more question before they make a decision. That one habit, you'll see them mature very significantly, and I've seen it happen very quickly. Let's talk about coaching the influencer. You will feel them before you analyze them. Man, these are the people, they bring the energy. They talk through the ideas out loud. They build momentum quickly. They can also start 5 initiatives before finishing 2. Here's how you coach them. Give them a visible scoreboard. Tie execution to impact. Help them narrow focus. So instead of saying, let's just keep pushing forward, ask them, which 2 priorities matter most to you this week? They don't need more motivation. Guys, they motivate themselves. They need containment. We need to write the vision and make it plain. Influencers need plain. They keep it simple. KISS, keep it simple, silly. I don't like to say stupid because we're not stupid, but keep it simple. All right, now let's talk about coaching the stabilizer. This one is critical. Stabilizers are loyal, they are steady, they don't cause drama. They might not volunteer opinions in large meetings, but they are often the emotional barometer of your culture. Here's the danger. Leaders overlook them because they're low maintenance. That's a mistake. Stabilizers will endure tension quietly until they don't. Here's how to coach them. Create safe one-on-one spaces. Ask open-ended questions. Give them time to process before expecting answers. And if you sense tension, guys, don't ignore it. Matthew 5 calls us as leaders, to be peacemakers. Peacemaking requires naming issues early. Stabilizers need permission to speak up sometimes, so give that to them. And then the last, we've got coaching the analyst. They come prepared, my friends. They ask thoughtful questions. They want clarity before committing. They might push back, not emotionally, but logically. And some leaders might misinterpret that as resistance. Guys, it's not resistance, it's risk assessment. Here's how to coach them. Provide context in advance. Give them prep time. Ask them what data would increase their confidence. And here's the big one. Do not rush them publicly. Analysts under pressure either shut down or they get hyper detailed. Neither helps momentum. Patience here is what builds trust. Now let's move into conflict between the styles, because this is where it gets really interesting. Directors and stabilizers often clash. One moves fast, one processes slowly. Influencers and analysts often frustrate each other. One loves to talk about vision. The other one, man, they want specifics. So instead of diagnosing the style mismatch, leaders escalate the tension. Here's that reframe, okay? Difference is not dysfunction. It's diversity. First Corinthians 12 talks about the body having many parts, right? Different functions, same purpose. Your job as a leader is not to eliminate the differences, it's to translate between them. And that is calibration. Okay, let's focus for a second because identifying communication styles is helpful. But if you don't shift how you coach people based on those styles, nothing's going to change. And I've learned that the hard way. I have spent I've spent over 2 decades in sales leadership. High performance environments where numbers matter, speed matters, and results matter. And I also serve as a worship pastor. Those are 2 very different environments. One is measured by metrics, the other one is measured by spiritual health. And here's what I've realized across both. You can drive results without developing people, but you cannot build a sustainable team without coaching them. Managing focuses on output. Coaching focuses on growth, and growth is what scales. So I'm going to give you some coaching foundations here. The first one is curiosity before correction. Early in my leadership, guys, let me tell you a little story. When I was 20 years old, I was working for a large telecommunications company that shall not be named down in Southern California. And I started out as a customer service rep, moved into sales very quickly, and then they moved me into retention because I'm really good at talking people off the ledge. And I quickly became the director of retention as a 21-year-old. Who makes a 21-year-old the director of anything, number one? But number two, the director of retention with 300 people in the division. And that included 15 leaders. Guys, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to coach. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff, but I was good at my job. So I'm a very wired person to be very direct. And back then, if I saw something was inefficient or unclear, number one, I'd fix it myself because nobody could do it better than me. And I would do it really quickly. And I thought that that was helpful. But over time, I realized when you correct something before you understand, or you do it for somebody else and you don't coach them to understand, you are unintentionally shutting down ownership and you're being a crappy leader. Pardon my French. I feel like that was a really bad word, but it's okay. Sometimes it just happens. Proverbs 20, verse 5 says, "The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out." Guys, leaders, draw them out. Don't dictate to your employees. Don't dictate to the people you lead. So instead of saying, here's what you did wrong, I would start asking, walk me through your thinking here. Let's talk about this. Let's verbally get this out on the shelf, on the table, on the plate, whatever you want to call it. That one question though, walk me through your thinking, that changed everything for me. Curiosity, it builds trust. Correction without curiosity builds compliance, and compliance does not scale leadership. Now, I will be very honest with you too. I did not do that very quickly because I had a break in between corporate and having kids. And then I went back into corporate, and that was my time frame where I actually, learned even better leadership skills. Because let me tell you, becoming a mom, wow, it's number one, a lot of work, but you either dive into the leadership so you can lead your kids and raise these great humans. And it's because I took a lot of this, here's, instead of what you did wrong, walk me through your thinking here. Walk me through your process. That's something I introduced when they were just little, like little tiny nuggets, when they were, 2 or 3. So if you're a parent, this also applies to you, and it can totally apply to your parenting skills. I feel like I'm getting off topic though. So we're going to go to the next coaching foundation, which is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is leadership. So there have been moments, especially in the high stakes sales seasons, right? You're coming into Q4 and oh Lord, those targets aren't being hit. Pressure is high. Deadlines are tight. And my tone, it would just shift. I never yelled. I'm just not a yeller when it comes to my employees and the people I lead. I don't think that's going to be beneficial at all. Not too dramatic. I am a very dramatic person. I'm sure you can tell just by listening to my voice. And I know you can just visualize me talking with my hands. But I would get sharper. And I had to learn this, okay? If I brought anxiety into the room, the room is going to multiply it. If I bring calm into the room, though, the room stabilizes. So, as a worship pastor, this is even more obvious. If I walk into a rehearsal on a Friday night tense, my team, they tighten. Like they just tense up a little bit. But if I walk in grounded, it's amazing how relaxed everyone is, how well the rehearsals will go, etc. My friends, leadership is emotional stewardship. I want you to hear that again. Leadership is emotional stewardship. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 reminds us that God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Self-discipline includes your tone. If you can't regulate yourself, guys, you cannot coach someone else. So let's go into coaching foundation number 3, ownership over dependency. Guys, this one's huge. Early on, I thought being helpful meant giving the answers. Now I know it means asking better questions. If someone brings you a problem and you can solve it every time, what are you training them for? You're training them to be dependent on you. But if someone brings you a problem and you ask, well, what do you think we should do? You're training leadership. You're training them to be free thinkers and self-thinkers, which is what we need more of in today's day and age. Here's the subtle lift. Instead of saying, do this, try, what outcome are you aiming for? Where do you see risk? What would excellence look like here? Those are questions that develop thinking. And thinking leaders, they build scalable teams. So here is coaching foundation number 4, last one for the day. Accountability with dignity. This is where a lot of leaders will get really uncomfortable because accountability feels like confrontation. It just does. But accountability without dignity damages culture. And dignity without accountability damages performance. Both of them matter. Ephesians 4:15 talks about speaking the truth in love, not truth or love, truth in love. You can be direct without being demeaning, okay? You can be firm without being harsh. You can correct someone and still protect their confidence. That is coaching maturity. So let's bring this all together. When you understand someone's communication style and apply these foundations, I promise you, you will see everything shift. You're going to stop labeling. You start calibrating, you stop reacting, and you start coaching. And here's what I've seen over and over again. When people feel understood, they perform better. They're happier. They just have better overall employee satisfaction. When they feel safe, they grow faster. When they feel developed, they stay longer. And that, again, is how you build strong, scalable teams. Okay, let's talk about your action plan for the week. We're going to simplify it down a little bit because I feel like you might be a little overwhelmed, but I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you moving forward. Sometimes just remember 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's okay, as long as you are continuing to project forward. Here's 3 things I want you to do this week. That's it. Just 3, okay? The first one, identify one pattern per person that you lead. Look at your team and ask, what is their dominant communication pattern? Not perfectly, just directionally, okay? Are they direct? Are they visionary, steady, or analytical? Just naming that will change how you interpret their behavior, because once you understand wiring, you stop mislabeling it. So again, if you're an analytical person, make a spreadsheet. If you're not an analytical person, make a spreadsheet. Here's the second one: adjust one variable. Pick just one person and adjust one thing. Here's what I mean by that. If they're analytical, send context in advance. If they're direct, get to the point faster. If they're relational, which is the influencer, slow your tone slightly. If they're steady, create space for them to speak. You don't need to reinvent your leadership. You just need a calibration. Small shifts, man, they bring big trust. And here is my third point. Ask one more question. Before you correct this week, ask one more question. Walk me through your thinking. That single sentence builds ownership, not dependency. And ownership is what scales. So that's it. 3 things. Simple. But if you actually do them, you're going to feel the difference immediately. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Leadership isn't about speaking louder. It's about speaking wiser. It's about reading the room. It's about adjusting without losing who you are. And when you learn to do that, you don't just build productive teams, you build strong ones. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that this brought you some clarity, some joy, gave you some action to go forward this week. I just challenge you guys, lead clearly, coach intentionally, and my friends, steward your influence well. Thank you so much for joining me today on Leadership Clearly. If today's episode resonated with you and you're realizing that leadership requires more clarity, more courage, and more consistency than you've been operating with, I want to invite you into something deeper. The Clarity Code is my new leadership bootcamp designed to help you slow down, get clear, and lead with confidence when conversations are hard, decisions are heavy, and people are counting on you. This isn't about fixing everyone else. It's about strengthening how you lead so your words, your presence, and your follow-through actually build trust. If you're ready to step into leadership with greater clarity and conviction, I'd love for you to join us inside the Clarity Code. Link is found in the show notes. And if Leadership Clearly has been encouraging or grounding for you, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. We release new episodes every Monday to help you start your week off with clarity, encouragement, and strong leadership perspective. And finally, if you know a leader who's navigating hard conversations or just carrying a lot right now, please share this episode with them. Leadership was never meant to be done alone. I'm glad you're here. Keep leading well. I'll see you next week.